Hello and welcome to another edition of the Mexican Soccer Show. I'm your host, Cesar Hernandez, and we're here to talk about the final match for Mexico in the group stage of the Copa America. They'll be taking on Ecuador today, and although a tie could potentially sneak in Mexico to a third-place spot that would get them to the next round, it seems unlikely, and we don't like the idea of having to, focus on other teams and having to get those squads to help us out for the next round. So we need to win today, guys, right? Yes? No?
A win.
Yeah, there we go. All right. So, all right. So we've got our two experts here today. Actually, I should say three, but let's just say two for now. Well, you guys. We got our two experts here today to talk about Mexico. We got Johnny Rico over in sunny San Diego or Tijuana. I don't know where are you living nowadays? Is it San Diego or Tijuana?
Living in San Diego. Well, sleeping in San Diego, living in both.
And then we have Naib. Naib over actually from Houston, but right now he's in New York doing some big things out there. How are you doing, Naib?
Good, Cesar. Good to see Johnny as well. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, we've seen one face of El Tri just a week ago against Bolivia that the game didn't leave that many positive feelings. Then you see the Chile game and you see a lot of positive feelings. You see the attitude in the team and so forth. It's an important match coming up for the team just to see how far it has come, because let's keep in mind this team only has like a month together, and it's just evolving little by little, and we'll see if it can take that step to get to the quarterfinals.
Yeah, and I think we were talking about this before the show. I was talking about this with Naib, but for me, I think just making it into the next round would be perfect for me as a Mexico fan, because not only did we meet the expectations, maybe even exceed the expectations that we had for this team, but then if we lose in the quarterfinal round, then we can start immediately preparing for the Gold Cup. All right, so let's go over for the lineup for the match. So it's the same exact lineup as the game against Chile. The only difference is that Aldrete is out. He sprained his right ankle, if I remember correctly. And in his spot, we're going to have Efrain Velarde taking over in the left wing-back position. So I'll go through the lineup really quickly, just as a reminder to see who we have on the field. So we have Chuy Corona in net. We have Jerry Flores, right wing-back spot. Our three center backs are Cata, Ayala, and Topo. And it looks like in the last game, Ayala was playing in between Cata and Topo. We have Velarde playing the left wing-back position. We have Javier Güemes in the defensive mid position. Tecatito and Juan Carlos Medina in the two attacking mid positions. Raul Jimenez and Vicente Matias Voso are our two strikers. So my first question for the day, and I'll go over to Johnny, is what effect do you think Aldrete's absence is going to have on this team? He was a key player in the last game. He provided 2 assists. And do you think Velarde will be able to step up in that position for Mexico?
Yeah, I think so. I think Velarde can do a pretty good job. I don't know if he can provide 2 key assists like Aldrete did last game. But then again, ask me before kickoff last match against Chile, and I would have said Aldrete or Velarde give you the same exact thing. So Aldrete did have a great game. He stepped up. But I think these are 2 players of similar quality. Yeah. I don't see Mexico winning or losing much with either or on the field. Mm-hmm. So I'm very optimistic that Mexico can come out with the same strength it showed against Chile. Mm-hmm. And I think a win is very possible here.
Okay. Naib, what are your thoughts? Do you think not having Aldrete there is going to be negative to the team, or do you think that it's Velarde and Aldrete are very similar players?
I think it's been quite surprising for El Tri, to see, for example, how big Matias Voso has been, and it has sort of developed in the last several days. The same can be said about Aldrete. I think Aldrete, the player that probably impressed the most in the Bolivia game and in the Chile game was him. And in that regard, it does seem a little bit as a miss. But then you see how the whole team is working as a single unit, that you don't see that many, that's problematic, that it could be not to have Aldrete. I mean, because Osuna came in that match against Chile, and I think Osuna did great. And Osuna has just barely, kind of understand the ideas that Piojo transmits to his team. So what I see is that, what I take out from the Chile game in general was that the team worked as a single unit.
Yeah.
And when a team is working as a single unit, all the 23 players available can actually, support the whole cost.
Yeah, and I think considering those wingback positions, I think Jerry Flores had a little bit more of an impact than Aldrete did. Aldrete had those two key assists, and he was excellent when he had possession. But I think it was actually Jerry Flores who was pushing the ball more forward. And he actually almost had a goal himself, in the match. So I think hopefully if Jerry can keep that pressure that he had in the last game, I think Mexico will be all right. But like Johnny said, I think before the Copa America started, I thought there was also minimal differences between the two of them. But my worry with Velarde is I think in the preparation matches, I think he was, in my opinion, I think he was the worst player for Mexico in those preparation matches. I think he lost the ball constantly, and he didn't even have the ball that much to begin with. So that's my only worry. But I don't. We'll see how much of an impact that has against Ecuador today. All right. So speaking of defenders, speaking of wingbacks, do we think that this defense will be able to hold up against a couple of these players, like, say, Fidel Martinez, Ener Valencia, Jefferson Montero? These guys have either done well in Liga MX in the past, or are current players, like Fidel Martinez. Do we think it's going to be a struggle for our defense to deal with these kinds of players? As I've mentioned, we've been, have had a successful experience in the past. And I'll go over to Naive first. What are your thoughts? Do you think our defense is going to do all right against them?
I think it works on both ways, on both sides. I think the Mexican defenders understand how to defend these Ecuadorian attackers, and the Ecuadorian attackers know how to kind of disturb maybe the defenders in a way. I think Ecuador's most dangerous player so far has been Jefferson Montero by far. Fidel Martinez's Copa America has been really sad in a way. I don't know if the Pumas fanáticos are excited about this signing, but Fidel Martinez hasn't looked quite the same since leaving Cholos. And Ener Valencia, had his spell, arrived in West Ham, had a great start in the season, and then just kind of was up and down over there in the Premier League. But we know about his talents about what he did in Pachuca. I think it works either way, but like in general, I haven't seen Ecuador being this, amazing attacking force. I mean, it's really, the unstable team. I just see a lot of sparks from Jefferson Montero, but that's about it.
Yeah. Johnny, your thoughts?
I think I think if this Mexico defense can withstand the pressure of Chile, I don't see why not. Why the way they can't against Ecuador. I see Chile's offense is much stronger than Chile's much stronger offense than Ecuador. So I think Mexico will be fine. I think taking a really, really close look, everyone said Bolivia might have been the easiest game, but Bolivia, you go in with the pressure of feeling the need to win. You go against Chile as the host with the whole crowd against you. This might be the most neutral and level playing game that Mexico might get to play in this Copa America. So it's a more relaxed atmosphere. Yes, you need to win. A draw can also help you, and in very dire situations, you can even sneak in. No, you can't. I was about to say you can sneak in with a loss, but no, with 2 points, it's very hard. It's very hard to get in there with.
Yeah, even with the 3 points, it might be very difficult.
That Brazil lost really complicates things for third places.
I still think that but Ecuador, they also need a win themselves. I don't know if it's going to be. Maybe it could be easier than we anticipated before the tournament began, but I think they still got to come out. And I know that Ecuador's attack hasn't been at its best, but I think they're like I was telling Naive, they might see some of our defenders and say, like, we have done so well against these guys that we recognize. And you see someone like Gata, you see someone like Topo. Maybe they would love to take on the opportunity to take on that defense. I don't know if it's going to be as easy as we're making it out to be. I think it might be a challenge. I still think Mexico is going to win in the end, but I wouldn't be surprised if they sneak in a goal past us tonight.
No, every game in this Copa America will be tough. I think maybe you haven't seen the prettiest football in this tournament, but every game kind of seems rough. Yesterday, for example, the Venezuela played with 10 men most of the game, and they challenged Peru, and at times Venezuela was closer to the goal than Peru. You know, the Uruguay-Argentina was really tight as well, 1-0 win for Argentina. The Colombia-Brazil was really tight with a lot of physicality, 1-0 win for Colombia. So, I mean, I don't expect to see any, you know, Mexico's going to take this game and win it easily. You know, I do think that there will be complications in the game, and maybe even Piojo Herrera might have to switch to a backline of 4 to add more attackers to his side, because Mexico can't afford a tie, can't afford a loss. They have to go out and win the match.
Yeah. Well, I hope we go to a backline. If I mean, go for it.
That's the first thing everyone seems to be pointing at. You know what? Piojo Herrera needs to go to a backline of 4. Piojo Herrera needs to go to a backline. I feel that's the most overly used sentence when analyzing Mexico these days.
But it was so successful in the last time that we utilized it. So why wouldn't we want to push forward a little bit more? With like
the last time I remember a backline of 4 was with Chepo de la Torre, and that was.
You just have negative connotations with 2013, and you think that that one of our captains is going to come out and flip off the camera, and then the Jamaican defender is going to make or Jamaican goalkeeper is going to make us look foolish.
I've seen the radical change between a backline of 4 and a backline of 5, and the difference was 2013 and the 2014 World Cup. One was with the backline of 4, one was with the backline of 5.
I mean, I think the point that Johnny is bringing up is an interesting one, because it has to be debated about. The thing is, right now Mexico on the bench has Javier Aquino, Marco Fabian, and Chapito Montes, 3 excellent midfielders that somehow can sort of change the panorama of the game. Aquino didn't have a great season in Rayo Vallecano, but what he did in Bolivia was so good that it almost got the win for Mexico.
Yeah.
In this game, I'm not saying that perhaps what happened against Chile, at one point Topo Valenzuela was playing as a left back, if I'm not mistaken, and that's when Aldrete was taken out, and I don't know if but the thing is, the variables can be added, and you can add other players that are more attacking minded than the ones he has available in the starting 11. This is, of course, if there's problems during the game, because if you stick with the 5-3-2, you have an extra man in the back, and maybe you need to attack more.
But I feel there's other options to switch things up than just going to a backline of 4. You can play around with the midfield. You can put in an extra attacker and take away one of the defensive midfielders, like for example,
Negrito, maybe.
Juan Carlos Medina. Yeah, Medina. You can take out Medina and put in a more attacking player like Aquino. You can push up Tecatito Corona to play behind the forwards, almost as a number 10, un enganche. So there's so many different things that you can do without necessarily having to change from a backline of 5 to a backline of 4, like everyone seems to just be pointing out as the automatic variation.
But Aquino thrives more with I think with being able to play a little bit more wide, and I think with this current midfield, if we were to bring in Aquino into that current midfield line that we have.
Look at this option: Aquino on the right, Tecatito on the left, and just having one striker. That's another variation. You can play that kind of like a 4-3-3, but while still maintaining that backline of 5.
So it would be
wingers, with wingers and one central striker.
So you play with a 5-4-1, essentially, like more of like a 5-4-1 than a 5-3-2.
Kind of. I mean, and I haven't thought of all these up myself, but my point is, there's other options. Not always having to just kill the back line of 5 and go to a 4-man defensive line.
I think that would that complicate things? That's just something that many of these players haven't tried before with that formation. I think the wingbacks might even run in. I don't know. I think that would just complicate things a little bit more. Why not use a formation that everybody is more comfortable with, which would
yesterday with Piojo Herrera in the press conference, he did mention something like along the lines of a 4 1-3-2. And he just kind of had the same similar, the one when it's 4-1-3-2, the one would be Wemes, and against the Netherlands that was Diego Reyes. When he played with a backline of 4 against the Netherlands, that one that is kind of it shifts. He shifts basically. He can play as a central defensive midfielder, but when the team is attacking, in this case it was the Netherlands, it automatically shifts to a backline of 5. But it's a player that can play both sides. So I mean, it's that kind of playing around with what you do when you defend and what you do when you attack. When you attack, it looks like a 4-1-3-2 to be exact. I think that's what Herrera mentioned yesterday.
Yeah. The more I heard that too, but the more I think about him talk about the 4-1-3-2, I think it's just 4-4-2. That's just 4-4. It's like almost it's just a little bit of a diamond 4-4-2. Yeah. Like that's essentially all it is. It just makes it sound a little bit more fancy. But I think against, as we mentioned, in the game against Bolivia, when Aquino came on, and I think he had more energy in that short amount of time that he had in Bolivia than like any other player on that pitch. And I think with him and Tecatito out in the wings, with those 4 midfielders, I think it worked well. Maybe a 5-4-1 could work, but like I said, I think that might, or something like with keeping with a 5-man defensive line. But I think that would just complicate things. I don't think any of these players are used to something like that, and I think it would.
Am I the only one? Am I the only one that was not that impressed by Aquino? I mean, he did come and offer something different in that Bolivia game, but there wasn't. What he offered. Sure, it was better than what was being offered before, but what was being offered before was utter crap.
Yeah.
So to come and put something in a little better than crap, he still wasn't the difference maker. He still couldn't get Mexico to those 3 points. What I saw against Chile, he came in, he tried his best, but I'm not that overly impressed with Aquino. I don't see why we need to break up the team's formation to fit in this player who has not impressed that much.
I think he was a good impact player at the very. I mean, I'm not saying this is how it should start. I'm saying I think this is what we all kind of agree on. That like I think this 5-3-2 works for now, but if we need to make changes, then we need a player like Aquino to come in. And even though he didn't score, I think he looked like he was in the game against Bolivia. He seemed like the one who was most likely to score than any other player on the pitch. And if that means slightly changing the formation, I think it's necessary for Piojo to do something like that.
Yeah, now it opens the door not just to Aquino, but like I said, Fabian maybe or Chapito Montes. The 2 players that shoot great outside the box. Not saying that I haven't been impressed with Fabian since the Jalisco game, but you never know. It's the same thing. One day he can give you a good game.
I told you guys so. Did I not mention this? Pretty much mentioned it.
You did
4 or 5 weeks ago.
But Johnny might have a point with Aquino, is that he hasn't really impressed much in his time in Europe. But I think he was one of the letdowns for me of the season was him. Like actually, I thought him and Tecatito were going to have like the exact opposite seasons. I thought Tecatito was going to be a complete failure, and I thought that this was going to be Aquino's big time to show off. But it was like the exact opposite for them. But maybe considering that, and we saw that performance, and maybe it got us all excited. We realized, like, oh, maybe Aquino is this solid player that we thought he once was. Maybe Aquino does have this energy, that we were once excited about. So that could be, maybe that comes into play a little bit, is that he might have exceeded some expectations that we had from Aquino. But that being said, I would much rather have him play in a 4-4-2. We could try a 5-4-1 and take out a striker, but I don't know. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about that. So speaking of this game, the expectations, and I want to ask you guys, they asked Piojo recently about the outcome of the match, and he said that it would be a fracaso if Mexico loses to Ecuador. Do you guys think that this would be would this be a massive failure for Mexico if they lose tonight, and if they don't make it to the next round? And I'll go over to Johnny first on this one. If Mexico loses tonight, and I guess even we could talk about the Tyler, but if they lose tonight, is that a fracaso? Is it as big of a loss as Piojo is making it out to be?
Yes, bare minimum, Mexico needed to get out of this group. The opponents that Mexico were drawn into, They were very accessible opponents. I'm not saying easy, but they were opponents that you need to get it. You need to qualify out of the group, and if you don't, yes, it's a massive and utter failure.
Now, your thoughts? Would it be a complete, like, how much of a failure would it be if Mexico doesn't win tonight?
The expectations of the team, going in, I think the person that believed the most, that was really optimistic from day one with this team has been Piojo Herrera, and he says it, that back in May he was really relaxed. He was feeling really relaxed because he could see that in the players there was a lot of motivation and a lot of pushing and a lot of attitude in that sense of not quitting. That's one of the things with Piojo Herrera's team since he arrived back like more than a year ago, is that each team, competes. El Tri with Chepo de la Torre was kind of a letdown in the sense that you didn't see that much of attitude or fire in the team. With Piojo Herrera, that's the total opposite. No matter if it's the B team or the A team, as we will see in Gold Cup, they have fire. Analyzing this whole Copa America of how tight it has been, and the paper, you had a Bolivia side and an Ecuador side that is kind of a broken, it would be a failure if El Tri doesn't make it out of the group. I think that's the least, making it out of the group at least already is kind of a quote-unquote success, considering that this team only has like a month old and it's barely building up.
I think it would be a failure as well, but one thing that just
I wouldn't go as far as saying getting out of the group is a success. I think that's just meeting minimum expectations.
Meeting, yeah, you can word it that way as well.
Yeah, I think like I said, one thing that stands out to me the most, and like it would suck, as a Mexico fan, to see Mexico get out this early. But a massive silver lining for this would be that Mexico can then focus on the Gold Cup, which is the #1 priority for this summer. So I feel like that would be the only thing that would make me happy, because if Mexico makes it into the next round, the Copa America knockout matches would be on the 24th, the 25th, and the 26th of this month. And then Mexico's A team has a friendly against Costa Rica on the 27th. So that would be the only thing that gives me, I don't know, just some sort of solace, some sort of like hope for success for this summer, is the fact that if Mexico gets out this early, maybe it would be more. I think it would actually, would it be a better thing for Mexico to get out this early if we want to find more success in the Gold Cup? Is this something that Mexico fans should be rooting for? Maybe we should be hoping for a loss. I know that's actually probably sacrilegious to say, but that's something to think about. Is if Mexico does get out, if they're done by tonight, then Piojo can just, and the other members of his staff can just immediately go over and start training with the team. So I guess that's something to think about if we really don't expect us to win the Copa America, unless any of you think that we really have a chance at winning the Copa America. Sorry, I said like about 50 things.
Yeah, I know. One of the things that we see from the Gold Cup team is that it knows each other for almost a year, or even more than a year. It's a really solid base of players with several additions. The case of Carlos Vela and the addition, for example, of Jonathan Dos Santos. But from that, everything else is kind of a team that already knows each other. Guardado, Herrera, Giovanni, and so forth, Oribe Peralta. You basically have the two forwards that were starters in the World Cup are probably going to be the bench, in this team with Chicharito and Vela starting this time around. But, it's a team that knows each other, and I think that's where Piojo that's why he feels confident about the scenario that is in front of him. The fact that team knows pretty well each other, they know what to play, they know the 5-3-2 by heart already. And this team, I'm not saying that they'll reach the final in the Copa America team. I still think it's a little bit too high of a hope, but based on what we have seen, there's not a team in this Copa America that leaves you in awe, or that leaves you, this team is going to win it, because they're just playing phenomenal. I mean, it's just physical football. It's Copa Sudamericana style. Anyone can win it if once they reach the knockout stage, it's one team versus the other, and anyone can win, basically.
That would be, say Mexico does find a lot of success, though. How crazy would it be? Because then the semis would be on the 29th to the 30th of June, and that would run into the next friendly on the 1st, and then the final would be, I believe, is it July 3rd or July 4th? I forget which day it would be. So that would literally be if let's say if it is on the 4th, that would be just 5 days before Mexico's first game in the Gold Cup. Like,
Okay. Is it just maybe it's just myself being simple-minded, but I don't overthink these things, and playing a Copa America quarterfinal to me is way superior than playing a friendly against Costa Rica. No, that might be a very simple way of looking at things, but
no, I could see where you're coming from, but at the same time, that friendly is preparing us for a more important tournament, though. It's
yes,
if that friendly
but
was any other time, but
if
if preparing
if
us
you're
for
if you're telling me that okay, the knockout stages, collide with, the first game of Copa Oro, then yes, I'll start kind of
Yeah.
considering, which one's worth it. A group stage match in a very inferior confederation, or a quarterfinal. But a friendly, to me, a friendly is a friendly. The starters will probably play 45 minutes at most. It's besides Sergio Baños. He knows Herrera's 5-3-2 system. There's nothing Herrera could do differently than Sergio Baños doesn't already know. He's always been his right-hand man. So the players are in good hands. The Copa Oro players are in good hands. They can survive a friendly without Herrera. No, to me that's not a big deal.
Mhm.
It more knockout stages of a Copa America is way more important than a friendly match.
And he has, I know Femex Foot, they put it up online. It was a long list of all their, including with Baños, like all the different staff members they set there. So they do have a lot of Piojo's, men do have they are training out there with or training the Gold Cup team. So I guess that is something to keep in mind. But I don't know. I still feel, I don't know. I think in the end though, it would still be beneficial to have all of your staff and to completely prepare with everybody available as soon as possible. And I think that even though the Copa America game might be, in the long run, might be more significant for prestige, I still think that I would, personally, it would be nice to have everybody available for that first friendly match against Costa Rica.
I remember a situation in high school. The varsity coach.
Story time.
Yeah, he set up the varsity team, to play our game, but then he had to step away to go kind of help out the junior varsity, the JV.
Yeah.
So of course it would have been great and awesome to have our coach with us at all times, but we knew what we're doing. We know what we had to do. We were well prepared.
Yeah.
So let the mastermind go help out someone else.
I bet the twist in this story is that you're gonna say just like, who the name of that coach? Piojo Herrera.
Well, yeah, it ties in the Copa Oro is the varsity team. The Copa America is the junior varsity team. They each have their own tournament, and I think the Copa America squad benefits a lot more from having Piojo Herrera's presence there. I think that the Copa Oro guys are in good hands. They already know what they're doing, as Naib pointed out. That's the important thing. They know what they're doing. They know what kind of work needs to be done. They understand the system, and they have someone. They have Herrera's right-hand man who also knows the system.
Now I'm just thinking about my varsity team and the football coach, the American football coach who took charge of our varsity soccer team. That was fun. That was an interesting year. Anywho, all right. So let's go.
Was it Coach Lasso?
What? No.
Was it Coach Lasso?
Yeah.
Kind of same situation.
Actually, I don't even want to get into it. But so let's go into our predictions for the match. So it looks like, whether they're not going to come out or not, Ecuador still need a win tonight, and so does Mexico. So I'm still expecting a hard-fought match. But what are your guys' thoughts? What are your guys' predictions? It doesn't have to just be the score. What do you expect? Who's gonna shine? Who's gonna let down? Who's gonna have an average performance? And I'm gonna go over to Naib first. What are you expecting for this match, including the scoreline?
But I expect a tight match. Kind of with the same flavor as the Bolivia game, which is a little bit sad after what we saw. against Chile, which was really exciting, intrepid football with the 3-3. I think it depends on what Ecuador wants as well. I get the sense from Ecuador that they just don't like the coach, and there's no chemistry between the players and the coach. And it depends on the honor of the players as well. What kind of sense do they want to give to their country in a way? Because they're at the end representing the country. And from Mexico, I see it in a sense. After the result against Chile, I think that really helped, especially the forwards. Seeing Matias Bozo scored and also Raúl Jiménez scored. I also think Tecatito should go a little bit forward and give, actually, hopefully score a goal or so to even boost already.
I hope he passes.
Oh, man.
Passes and scores, assist or something important, not just that many dribbles and stuff, but be productive on the. I think there were several crosses that were good from Tecatito, and I think he has done great on that left flank. So something of that sort I see. I see El Tri winning 2-1. It's going to be a tough match. So
you took away my prediction. That was my prediction. I'm going to look foolish. All right, yeah.
So 2-1 will go.
Johnny, what are your thoughts? What are you predicting?
What I was, I really hope that Tecatito stops dribbling so much and starts looking for teammates. I think he has let go of a lot of opportunities. Right before Chile got the 1-1 equalizer, it was a really fast 3-on-3 breakaway that he tries to take a long shot from almost midfield to chip the goalkeeper. When you're going 3-on-3, you have teammates on both sides of you, and you just completely waste the play. I think that he has displayed a lot of talent this Copa America, but he's been so wasteful.
No, he's been selfish. He's definitely been selfish with the ball, and sometimes he'll take on one player, and then it's perfect. You're like, all right, just dish it out left to right, like look for someone who's open, and then he'll hold on to it, and then he'll try to take it on another, or he'll like hold on to it more, and then like look back a little. He definitely has it's exciting because he's always one move away, or like one just like one little trick away from doing something beautiful, and he does that like one in every like 6 or 7 possessions. He does something really beneficial. But man, no, that guy's got to let go of the ball earlier, and I think he's a young guy. I mean he's still obviously he needs some he needs to mature a little bit in his playing style. But but then again, I think it's only with all the stuff that he's been creating with all those failed opportunities right behind him. I think we might see a goal from him today. I think it seems like it's only a matter of time before he knocks one in the back of the net. I think that'll happen today. That's my prediction for the day. Is I think Tecatito's gonna have a goal for Mexico.
Anyway, my prediction, I'm gonna register the 3-2 Mexico win.
3-2.
I think just like last game with goalkeeper, you can't really blame any of the goals on Jesus Corona.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like another goalkeeper could have done a little more.
I thought for a second that was the nicest thing you ever said about Chuy Corona, and then you added that second sentence.
Yeah, with the goal, there's the types of goalkeepers that they block what they're supposed to block, which is Corona, and then there's other goalkeepers that block, certain.
Like who are you thinking of? Who do you have in mind?
Someone that kept Brazil shut out. In their own World Cup. So yeah, there's a type of goalkeepers that will block almost certain goals, and there's goalkeepers that will block just what they need to block. And I think against Chile was a really good demonstration. Corona stopped, what he was supposed to stop, so you don't say anything was his fault. But those headers to the corner of the goal in the first half. Another goalkeeper probably reaches those.
Keep in mind, Johnny was a goalkeeper back in his playing days, so definitely knows what he's talking about. Johnny, would you have been able to block those?
Me, definitely not. That's why I peaked at high school soccer.
I peaked at like 12 years old, and then after that I was just a complete failure. But I was more of a it wasn't a wing back, but more just a right defender. Also, I like to play like right midfield as well. That was That was my spot. I like that. And as I mentioned, I'm pretty sure that Naib was more of a central midfielder himself.
Yeah, that was. I play a little bit as a right mid and right forward as well. So
Right forward.
yeah.
Yes, I see as more of as a mid. You're more of a cerebral type. Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, I was seeing the comments in the comment section. Tom
Well,
Marshall says.
you don't want to talk about our glory days about from soccer and whatnot.
No. Tom Marshall says 2-0, Mexico.
Oh, Tom's shooting for 2-0.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sticking to my 2-1. I think, as I mentioned, I think some of those players like Ener Valencia, he's going to have some wonderful flashbacks of his good days, of his one excellent season back in 2014, and just look at our defensive line. But that being said, I think this Ecuadorian attacking force has also been pretty poor in this tournament. So I think that's something to keep in mind as well. But yeah, I'm shooting for 2-1. I think Tecatito's going to score one of them. I think Raul Jimenez is gonna score one as well. Look at this. I'm going for specific predictions. And then it'll be enough to get us into the next round, and then we're just going to lose badly in the next round. We're going to lose bad. I don't know who it's going to be, but it's going to be a very tough match. And then next round.
Raul Arias in the comment section says Mexico 5-0.
5-0.
Yeah, is this the Raúl Arias that coached Chivas? The Estamos chupando tranquilos.
Hey, let's ask him. Maybe he's right there. I'm like the 5-0 prediction though. That seems a little more realistic. If Mexico wins 5-0, oh man, I think I don't know.
You're wearing an America jersey.
No. We're not doing anything crazy like that, man.
And also, just to point out, Mexico just played Ecuador a couple of months ago in LA, and there's practically a lot of the players that we're going to see today were in that game for Ecuador. So Pio Herrera already has a good sense of how the team could work.
No, that's an excellent point as well. So it seems like there's a lot of connections. There's plenty of Liga MX players know each other. We recently played them, so there's going to be a lot of familiarity in the game. And as well, don't forget like Ayov, who's going to be playing in defense with them as well, and he has a long history, obviously, in the Liga MX.
One?
Well, Walter Ayov.
The one in Pachuca.
So many.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's definitely true. All right, so I gotta set up for the game. I gotta do the player ratings later on, so I gotta set up in about 5 minutes. So any final thoughts before we head on over to the match?
No, what a big week for Tigres. Just randomly.
Yeah.
What a big week for Tigres, huh?
That's
Tigres are acting like America should be acting.
And America's birthday coming up. The 100th birthday's coming up. Let's see if they get someone like Gignac or Gignac. How do you pronounce it?
Well, I think we saw Tom posted that video, and I already forgot how his friend Tomas pronounced it. It was Gignac. I think it was Gignac.
Gignac.
I'm probably offending some sort of a French speaker out there. Gignac. Andre Pierre Gignac, I think. Tom, let me know if I'm.
Question: Is he tall? Because if he's tall, I can just go with giant.
Giant.
All right. So it looks like we're all predicting some success for Mexico tonight. Hopefully able to secure that win. But you never know with this Copa America. The Copa America has been filled with plenty of surprises. Maybe Mexico will have that 5-0 win, and maybe it'll be a good thing that I didn't agree to wear that America jersey from Johnny if they do actually win 5-0.
I need my revenge on that. I will find a way to get you to wear an America jersey.
Oh, there's next season, man. Don't worry, there's next season. All right, so thanks, guys. Let's hope for a good match. Should be a good one, starting in about 20 minutes, and I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks to everyone who is following. Thanks. Be sure to follow us on it. It's at Mex Soccer Show, correct? I always forget this. I never remember the
Yes.
Twitter handle.
Twitter at Mex Soccer Show. Facebook is The Mexican Soccer Show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go on iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating.
Subscribe on YouTube.
Subscribe on YouTube. What else can we do? Do we have a newspaper of some sort? Do we have a Beer of the Month club? They could also join with us. A newsletter.
Beer of the month. Dos Equis Lager Especial.
Oh, that just Negro Modelo for me. All right, thanks, guys. Talk to you guys later.
Take care.
I think it's still live. It says it's stopping. If you're still listening, it's apparently it's still
Get
live.
me off the air. I want to say